Hello, Governor. This is Rakai Steve, new from the Ville. I'm here to talk to you about Doctor Who, Season 10, Episode 5, Oxygen. But first, let me tell you a little story. You know, it's amazing the things that people decide to get up and get involved. There was a store that was, if you walked from my house, it was maybe a 4 or 5 minute walk tops. If you drove 60 seconds, 2 minutes tops. It's right around the corner, literally. The problem with the store is I only ever saw the lady who worked in the store. She usually, by the time I got off work and until they closed at night, it was usually the same lady who was working almost every day. I never really saw the owners. One of my kids went in the store and bought something, I don't know, Little Debbie or something. Ate it, got extremely sick. And we were trying to figure out what made them sick. We finally looked at the expiration date on the Little Debbie. It had expired a year before, and it was still sitting on the shelf. So now I'm enraged. Because who would think that, Nutty Buddy or whatever it was, would act as food poisoning. But you done it to one of my kids. Oh, hell no. So I go down to the store, and the thing is, you have to temper your anger. Because who are you really angry at? The lady that was working there at night, she just worked there. Understood, she had an hourly wage. She was a worker. And even though she might have been in charge of inventory, she might have been in charge of putting things out on the shelves, she does what they tell her. So if she noticed it, because it's not like I noticed it, I looked for expiration before I bought it. If she noticed it, she may have said something. They may be like, hey, well, that's what we got, put it out. Which that's a whole nother thing about when it comes to working in corporate, working in settings. So I went down and talked to her. She was apologetic. She was sorry. But ultimately, there's nothing that she could do. She could bring it up to the owners. The one thing she did not do is go and immediately go search for expiration dates and clear things off the shelf, which makes me think that she may have been a bit complicit. So at this point, I had two courses. I need to lodge my complaint with the owners of the store, and then I need to lodge my complaint directly with Little Debbie. Sometimes you gotta go over people's head and let them know. Of course, as you can guess, I didn't get too far with the owners of the store. They, apologized, and it's like, hey, they offered to give me other Little Debbies as compensation for the one that, damn near hospitalized my kid. No. The response from the Little Debbies, the corporation or whatever, I sent a sharply worded email, and this was before ChatGPT, so I had to code switch, and get up, shake my imaginary tie and, get in my best legalese and explain the situation and how will this be rectified. They returned the email, said they were extremely sorry. They are not at fault for what an operator of a store does, especially one that they don't have a direct connection to. However, so that we do not lose faith in their company and their products, they sent us a huge box full of an assortment of Little Debbie's products. Some that I never even seen before. I was like, where do y'all sell these at? And all the expiration dates were good to go too. Anita Roddick says that one of the key problems of the business world is that greed has become culturally acceptable. Let's talk about it. Hello, Governor. This is Rakai Steed, Newfoundlandville. We are here today to talk about Doctor Who, Season 10, Episode 5, Oxygen. Now, if you've rocked with me for any amount of time, you know the new way that I'm doing this is I give you the intro, give you the little story at the beginning, then I'll do a short recap, give you my quotes, give you my personal thoughts. Psst, we're out. But I'm trying to keep this recap really short. Now, you know the TARDIS. TARDIS does what she wants to do. And so the Doctor, Bill, and a very angry Nardole landed on a deep space mining facility. The computers or whatever got messed up and it jettisoned the TARDIS into space. So the Doctor, Nardole, and Bill all had to get in spacesuits. Problem with the spacesuits is that they're controlled by the computers, the corporation, or what have you, of the space station, the mining station. And their suits are kind of smart suits. So the suits themselves can continue to work even when no one is in it or against what you want it to do. However, there's a new problem with the spacesuits. In the spacesuits, there is not enough oxygen in this mining facility. The corporation that runs it didn't think it was worth the coin to put oxygen in it, so they put oxygen only in the spacesuits. Problem is, you had to pay for the oxygen that you breathed. Or the corporation might say, you know what, we don't like your attitude, you know, you've been to HR too many times or whatever, and they cut your oxygen. Or they had another way where the spacesuit itself would basically electrocute you and kill you. So that is the problem. In this episode, we have zombies in outer space because the corporation had decided to cut the life support or cut the organic functions of many of the life suits. The Doctor looked at the schematics for the mining facility and decided everyone needed to do a spacewalk. So they need to get in the suits, they need to do a spacewalk to a portion of the facility that's undocumented because it's unfinished, and they can go there and hide from the zombies. Problem is, when they do their spacewalk, Bill's suit malfunctions and the Doctor takes off his helmet and puts it on Bill. You know, I guess there's a slight advantage to him being Gallifreyan and not human. Problem with that is that when the Doctor took off his helmet, the ordeal was a little bit more overwhelming for him and he ends up going blind. He doesn't tell anyone. The computer actually finds out where they are and they have to flee this section. But of course, Bill's suit malfunctions again and it gets stuck and it won't unlock from the floor. It won't move. They can't carry it. And the Doctor has to make the heartbreaking decision to leave Bill, and he says he'll come back for her. Now, he had made the calculation that because the suit was malfunctioning, when the zombies touch you, they do kind of the electricity thing. They electrify you and turn you into a zombie. They kill you. They knew that because Bill's suit is malfunctioning, that it did not have enough electrical charge to actually kill her. So even though she became a zombie, it was a temporary zombie, I guess. It's like becoming a vampire, but you don't become a full-fledged vampire or werewolf or something until you take a life or so. I don't know. It's some wild space zombie shit. The Doctor reveals that the limit of breath is an algorithm set up by the corporation so that people didn't waste oxygen. This is how they automated and how they decided to make profit off of people's lives on this space station. They put it on an algorithm. The Doctor hacks the mining station and says, okay, well, if we're killed, then we'll blow up the whole station. And the corporation figured out, just from a dollars and cents point of view, that's not a good idea to kill these people because we'll lose, millions, billions of dollars or whatever. So they have all the zombies, all the people who have been completely zombies, transfer all of their air to the remaining humans. The Doctor's plan was a threat to the corporate's profits. The Doctor revives Bill. Somehow they get the TARDIS back. They get in the TARDIS, and the Doctor drops off the remaining humans at the corporate headquarters. When the Doctor and everyone get back, he says that there was a revolution about 6 months later, so the people who were dropped off to HR and lodged some complaints that it had some effects. And as Bill leaves, the Doctor lets Nardole know. And as Bill leaves, Nardole does what he can to restore the Doctor's eyes, but then the Doctor lets him know that it didn't work and he's still blind. You know that I love my quotes, and today I have 3, very short. The first one is by Jim Rohn, and he says, "The twin killers of success are impatience and greed." The second one is a quote from someone called Rusty Eric. Yeah, I don't know. But he says, "As long as greed is stronger than compassion, there will always be suffering." And along the same lines, the last one is from Mahatma Gandhi. And he says, "There is a sufficiency in the world for man's need, but not for man's greed." I'm going to call this particular media therapy deep dive, Fight the Suits. You know, we live in a interesting time in human history. Has there always been greed? I would say so. There's always someone who wants more than what they have a grasp on. You know, for some people, I've seen it in plenty of movies too, that, you know, especially when it comes to money, there's no such thing as having enough money. There's no such thing as being too rich. You know, I did a Google search and I looked up, you know, how to deal with, how to combat corporate greed. Because this whole story about oxygen is about corporate greed. The company put no value on the humans' lives who are working this deep space mining station. It all figured into the algorithm. What are people's lives actually worth? They limited the amount of air, of oxygen that they could breathe inside these spacesuits. The algorithm told them this human's life is not worth it in compared to our profits. What I looked up on Google on how to combat corporate greed, it actually at this point, it doesn't even really matter. Because greed is stronger than compassion. Because greed is stronger than compassion. And because it is, we have a problem. There is suffering. I watched a meme, a reel, or something on Instagram just last night. And it was one particular lady who, she played all the parts, of course, but it was America talking about how great we were. And all of the other countries in the world laughing at us. Based on taxes, just taxes. The thing is, Americans, we don't own anything. Because even the stuff that you own, you pay a tax to continue to own it. You pay a tax to continue to use it. Someone pays a tax when you're born. You pay a tax when you die. You pay a tax to have, to keep, to use your own stuff. And it's a never-ending cycle. They are taxing the shit out of us. And we allow it. We continue to put people in office. It's funny, we put people in office who went into office, didn't have very much money. They would still be considered comfortable or well off in society. But it's something, when they leave office or they're in office for years and years, then they're like absolutely wealthy. Now, as a public servant, they don't even get paid that much. So did you go from being, you were worth $500,000 and then years later, you're now worth, 100 million. How does that work? We had a saying in the Army about same mud, same blood. And what that meant is that regardless of the branch of military you were, regardless of your rank, when the shit got thick, we're all sharing the same mud and spilling the same blood. Whether the enemies or our own. The problem is with corporations, even with politicians, they don't share the same mud. And they for damn sure are not spilling any blood. We vote these people in the office as to be representatives of us, the American people, what we want. And damn near all of them, even the ones that you like, get to office and do far more things that are self-serving than are in our interest. Now, just so you know, because I did look it up. So Google says that in order to combat corporate greed, you need to advocate for policy changes, support ethical businesses, and promote corporate social responsibility. Now, what does that really mean? What does any of that mean? Advocate for policy changes. How do we do that? Support progressive policies. Increase corporate accountability. How does that work? Support ethical businesses. Okay, well, if that's the case, then we support businesses who tell us that they're ethical. That doesn't mean that they're ethical. If there's this much greed, you have to think if people will do that sort of thing for money, then at the top of that list, it's probably lie. I don't know. Yes, we're ethical. Yes, we're not dumping toxic things in your neighborhood, in your creeks, in your rivers. No, we only use the best of practices. The thing is, sometimes things are not right, but we allow them because they don't affect us personally. We allow them because we think, what can I do? We allow them because we see time and time again that the people who are the whistleblowers, who are doing the right thing, we allow the media and the corporations to label them like snitches. They're doing the right thing. They are, God forbid, looking out for everyone else and what's good for people. And we treat them like vermin. They're a rat, they're a snitch. How dare they tell on this corporation that pays them pennies on the dollar? We don't support them people. And then not only that, we see in movies and all that type of stuff that, whistleblowers, whoever it is that you snitching on, snitches get stitches and end up in ditches. People get killed. I don't want them kind of problems. It's little old me looking out for the American people, talking about something that's bad for all of us. But these corporations, who they know what they're doing, but this is worth billions of dollars, they will disappear your ass. Who wants them type problems? So we allow it. We'll allow a person to get in the office and tell us that everything is about America, made in America. Meanwhile, everything that they're hawking towards us is made in Mexico and in China. As American people, we complain about so much, but we get to work and do less than what is required. But we want more money for it. We have terrible attitudes. That's why we love Chick-fil-A. It ain't because their food is that damn good. It's not. Their food is mid as hell. But they have top tier, God status level customer service. And we can't figure out why we keep showing up to Chick-fil-A and the line be sold out. It's not because the food is that good. You convince yourself that food is that good. That shit is mid. But we long to get back to someplace that values us as people, values you as a customer. You can pull up to any Chick-fil-A anywhere, and the number of incidents where they had an employee absolutely crash out is slim to none. However, you pull up any other establishment and go and find a multitude of videos on TikTok, Instagram, wherever, of employees crashing out on customers, crashing out on employees. The thing about Doctor Who is it gives us sometimes the way things should happen. The doctor dropped the people off at corporate, they lodged their complaints, and then 6 months later there's a revolution. I guess in a country or what have you, I don't know. People had enough. When are we going to get to the point where we've had enough? This is Rakai Steed, new from the Ville. Make sure that you like this video. Let's just start there. Like the video. Next thing I need you to do, share this video. I'm not alone in thinking this. This is what I pulled from this episode. You saw it too. We just don't want to say nothing. All right, well, I said it. Share the video. Leave me a comment. That story I told at the beginning, unfortunately, in that situation, it was Little Debbie's, but you've had some situations in your life, some situations you heard of. Leave me some comments. And if for some reason, I don't know what it could be, but if you haven't subscribed, hit the button, subscribe, and then go back and watch some of these other videos. There might be something in here that resonates with you. As always, we use this, but especially in situations like this, it's always good to use this.